Jetzt habe ich gehört, dass Sie zu, außerordentlichen Dingen fähig sein sollen. Noch nie einen nackten deutschen Mann gesehen?
Und das hier jetzt ganz klar und deutlich zu sagen. Ich war niemals in der SS. Aber Sie müssen die Wahrheit schreiben.
Selbstverständlich.
Sie müssen mir vertrauen.
Ja, meinen Recherchen zufolge arbeiteten Sie damals beim schwedischen Geheimdienst. Tun es vielleicht immer noch.
Halten Sie es für eine gute Idee, diese Leute hinzurichten? Das wäre mein sicherer Tod gewesen. Demut, Opferbereitschaft, Mitgefühl. Überlebenswille ist immer stärker.
Das ist pathetische, feige Scheiße.
Der Krieg ist verloren.
Die Engländer und die Amerikaner, die werden nicht mit Hitler verhandeln.
Und denken Sie daran, was dabei herauskommt.
Als Führer eines neuen Deutschen Reiches.
Ich habe Himmler dazu gebracht, die Häftlinge freizulassen.
Ich hab gewusst, ich kann hier was bewirken.
Ich habe Ihnen das gerade beinahe geglaubt.
No. If I could just get right into it, I just wanted to talk to you about how, so your story follows one train journey and like the chaos that ensues with a journalist, and it tells the story of Heinrich Himmler's therapist, Felix Kersten. What made you want to tell this story specifically of the therapist?
The story came to me, I think, 5 years ago. I was contacted by a French company, and they wanted to shoot a mini-series about Felix Kersten, some kind of a superhero story, like, Felix Kersten was a better Oskar Schindler. But the concept was really good, and I liked the guys there in France. And then I went back to Berlin and started my own research on Felix Kersten, and I went to the archives and did all my digging and stuff, and talked to experts and read a lot. And then I found out that he isn't that kind of a hero. He's more like a shady kind of character, some maybe an imposter somehow. But yeah, he's shady kind of guy. And I told the French guys, of course, but they didn't want to do the movie anymore. They wanted to make this superhero movie. And of course, I was a little bit crestfallen. But then I just had the idea, okay, maybe I can just turn it around and start from the scratch and make it a completely different story, but still about Felix Kersten. And that's what I did. And so I wrote the first draft and sent it via his agent to Claes Bang. And I met him in London, and he wanted to do it. And that was the beginning of it, And what I was interested in this character, especially not because it's of course it's a period movie, but I'm more interested in movies. I think a period movie has to be there must be some kind of connection to our present time. So it is a period movie, but it's about topics, especially what is truth nowadays. It's very relevant, I think so. But nevertheless, it's a period movie.
For sure, and you do feel that in the setting and the costumes while you're watching it as well.
Yeah.
Period of it. Speaking of, while you did your research and that, like, the question of truth and everything, did you find anything that because when you're watching the film, you can't tell what the truth is going to be, and I still feel like at the end you're still like you said, he's a shady character. When you were doing research, did you find anything that actually proved that he was like this hero people brought him up to be, or would you say that like the history is going to be like it's going to be an everlasting unknown thing?
I do not pretend to tell the truth, I think there are different kind of variations somehow. But if you ask me, I think Felix Kersten, he saved people's lives. He did good things, not so many as he pretended to. He didn't save thousands and thousands of, maybe 20, I don't know. So he did good things, but for the wrong reasons, because he wanted to save his own skin. I think that's my opinion, and I think that's if you check all the facts, that's what happened. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As much as what you pulled from Kirsten would have been from files and stuff. When you were creating your characters, were the other characters like Hedda, did you use any like news articles to write them, or were they based on real people?
Um, of course, Kersten is based on a real person, but Hedda is a created and invented character. She's me, I think. With all the confusion, all the twists, all the turning points. She wants to find him guilty, and yeah, finds out it's something in between. So yeah, she's like me somehow. I think every director somehow, puts his own character into a movie. Maybe in a small, but in this time it's really big part, a leading character somehow.
Would you say it was like how you were f like doing your own research, and then when you were making your story, it was the character doing your research?
Somehow, yeah.
That's kind of interesting that you say that. It's kind of cool how it worked out that way.
Hmm.
Um, the film Eyes Another is your last one was Iceman, and it was more of like outdoor, like winter and outdoors, and now you've gone to a train compartment. What was it the French like this TV series that they wanted to make that pulled you into this genre, or would you say that's what it was, or was there something else that made you want to change genres?
I don't know, that was just a coincidence, I think. You just fall in love with a kind of character or a story or whatever, a topic, and okay, now it's a lot of talking. Iceman, there wasn't any talking at all. So it's different all the time. So, but there are no, I didn't think about it. There's no plan or something like that. I have no master plan.
Just a happy coincidence. Um, wh when you were casting, because you needed, as much as it's not a romantic relationship, there is a relationship between Hedda and
Yeah.
Kirsten, and there is like whether it be like mischievous or not. How did you cast your actors to make sure they could bring this across? Like, how did you know that they'd be able to bring it across on the screen? Besides, like you would have like
Mhm.
if you'd done like table reads and stuff, but how did you when you found them?
Um, Claes Bang, I watched him for a long, long time because I'm a huge fan of his work, and but I knew what not many people knew some years ago, that he speaks German nearly perfect. So because he was here in the theater here in Berlin years ago and did some TV stuff. I don't know. So I knew that he's really good in German. So, and that was one reason. He was the first who came to my mind when I was writing the first draft. I always had him in mind because I think what's really special about Claes is, he can tell you a lie and you want to believe him. And that's what I needed for this character, of course. And then with Hedda, also with Valerie, I'm a huge fan of her since this Terrence Malick movie. I don't know, Hidden Life, I think is the English title. And yeah, she was the second one who came on board, and she. I was looking for someone who was who's able, to be on the same eye line somehow. I don't want it to have not like a weak little journalist, something like that. I wanted to, she should have been like she is, this tough kind of woman who wants to find him guilty, who is able to hit back, and I think that's what she is capable of. Yeah.
For sure. While you were creating the film and during the filmmaking process, would you, while if you were reflecting while the process was happening, do you think that your film and films like I Is Another help shape and share lost stories in history? And how important do you think it is to be able to do that?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's me as a director. I try to ask questions. I cannot answer them. I just can ask questions. Of course, film is when a very it's about manipulation a lot. But I try to stick to the character, to the facts somehow, and yeah, the audience should give their own answers. I think. But of course, I have some kind of a responsibility. You know, for example, if I make a movie about, I don't know, a woman having cancer. I'm not a woman and I do not have cancer, so I cannot just take her struggle and make a movie out of it, and that's it. You know, I have to give something back, I think. So so I try to be as honest as I can to my characters.
For sure. I'm not, do you think that, like, I feel like when you have a film and it's based on a true story, or there's like true facts that inspire the story, it gives
Yeah.
audiences the chance to then go or have the reason to want to learn more. Like, I knew nothing about Felix Kersten, but I would feel compelled to go do research about him now. Like that part of finding out.
Of course, I would appreciate that if
Yeah.
there's someone, you know, who wants to dig himself or herself, great, you know. And we think about, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we think about shooting some kind of a documentary um, to combine it when it's here in Germany on TV, or maybe I don't know, in other countries. So to deliver more facts, you know,
Mhm.
to deliver the real story or whatever. But whatever the real story might be, I don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah, about since yeah, if you never really know the truth, how do you think it's important, or do you think it's different in the way that you can shape based on a true story versus shaping a documentary, if that makes sense? As in like,
Not real,
oh,
not
sorry.
really.
So when you're shooting, you know how when you like documentaries sometimes if you don't have like if you have to reshoot everything versus
Yeah,
that do you find you have more freedom in making a based on a true story when like you're shooting?
of course, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. But you know, also if you want to shoot now a documentary about him, it's also difficult because you know, in another ways, for example, allegedly Felix Kersten was a member of the. He was a Swedish spy. Nobody. I was told by experts, you know, but nobody know. And the files in Sweden, they're classified. You know,
Mm,
you cannot. Yeah, nobody can read these files. So also a documentary wouldn't show the real truth or something. Always, it's always just a little part of the truth, I think.
yeah. And then I have one last question, and it's like like the Swedish classified files. It has some. It doesn't have to do with that, but while you were researching, is there anything interesting or weird that you found out about Kirsten, or even Himmler during the process?
Yeah, the most fascinating thing I found out about Kersten is there's just one photo from the 20s. Felix Kersten in the 20s was here in Berlin, and he wanted to really, like it's in the movie, he wanted to become an actor. And he shot one movie. It's lost. I don't know. I forgot the title now. I forget the title now. But yeah, he did. He wanted to be an actor. And I think that means to me, he must have been some kind of a character, you know, he must have been bored by his own life, by his own personal life somehow. So he staged his own life. And I think that's the key to his character. To me, for me, it was the key to his character. You know, a person who always wanted to stage his whole life. It's like his whole life is like a play or a movie or whatever. And that's quite fascinating. Was quite fascinating, or is quite fascinating for me because you know that's what I do too somehow, or we all do somehow.
Mhm. For sure. I do. Thank you so much for answering the questions. And I hope that if people see this before they watch the film, it helps them because from things that you've told me, as I think back on watching the film now, it makes sense and it's quite interesting. Like you just said about him wanting to be an actor, and that's what shaped his acting, like the characters acting, not just the actors acting throughout the film.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's
that's true.
interesting. And thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.